Hello and welcome to the Walk Off, everybody. I'm Scott Belford, normally joined by the best co-host in the biz, Adam Mack. However, the Mac attack is in the Kamloops area. He had a big wedding over the weekend and he doesn't get home to Edmonton until tomorrow. So, another solo mission here for me. Today, it is a Monday morning mailbag on a Tuesday afternoon. Procrastinated and did it on a Wednesday. In true walk-off fashion, you can always reach out by shooting us a DM. You can do that on Twitter. You can do that on Blue Sky, on Instagram. The Patreon bump also is in effect 100% of the time. So if you're a Patreon member and you want to reach out and get a comment or a question in, you take priority and you automatically get it in. You can do so by joining Patreon. That's $4 a month. Automatically get instant access to all of our interviews. Just touched base with Adam Macko yesterday. He's going to be on the show next week. It looks like early July is kind of his goal there. I'm heading down to Buffalo to cover the Bisons this weekend. So we'll probably touch base with him and some of the other Bisons there. So you can feel free to follow along on the Walk Off Instagram account as we'll be posting some content there and some interviews there with some of the guys. All right. What a crazy roller coaster being a Jays fan has been really all season long. I'm not going to lie. I am still somewhere between this is a very good team and this is a mediocre team. I have flashes of they're a very good team, literally game to game, play to play. And then this is a mediocre team, same thing. And yesterday was kind of a pretty good example of that. They kicked the crap out of the Cleveland Guardians, but also made it far closer than it probably should have been. So a grand slam from Georgie Boy really put that out of reach for the guys. Eric Lauer with another incredible start, going, I think it was 5.1 innings, which is his longest start of the year, letting him go kind of a third time through the order. And it's funny, as soon as they did that, Cleveland started getting some hits, right? Eric Lauer lights out two times through the lineup. And I don't know how that rule just continues to apply time after time. I think it's why it's so obvious. It's kind of taken over baseball, is that it just constantly gets proven that, you know what? Some of those soft tossing, crafty lefties like Eric Lauer, they're really good until that third time a batter sees them, and then there's trouble. A little bit of ups and downs in the bullpen yesterday as well. Again, is this a really good team or is this a mediocre team? I think they're a wild card team at least. They're 2.5 back of the Yankees right now for the division. Nobody's running away with it. This trade deadline is going to decide so much. So feel free to drop your comments below here. Hopefully, we get to them on Friday or mailbag next week, and we can kind of touch on some of these ideas as to where they need to bolster areas of need. I know that there's a few questions in mailbag today that pertains to a trade that just happened yesterday. We'll kind of dive into that a little bit. Some bullpen depth coming our way from the Miami Marlins. On that, let's start things off here. So, without Adam Mack, this may be a little bit shorter of a mailbag. I'm doing my best solo style here, but there isn't the same sort of repertoire you get with a co-host, especially someone as good at it as Adam is. So we'll dive in here with Patreon. Now, just to remind you, Patreon does get in automatically, but I do my best to comb through all the comments in all the other sections. So again, Walk Off at Walk Off Podcast on Twitter, the Walk Off Podcast on Blue Sky and Instagram. Always combing through the YouTube comments, so feel free to drop your comments down below if you're watching right now. You grounds crew members, without you, this podcast would, well, it just would be stupid. Why would I be doing it, right? It would just be me talking into a microphone for myself. So glad there's so many Blue Jays fans that have bought in and like to communicate with Adam and I and give your thoughts and feelings. Starting with Mike Knowles, Patreon member. He goes, "Hey, Scott, thanks for the show, man. I did a solo MLB Mondays yesterday on a Tuesday. Yes, a little behind. Monday was our trivia night. And so I wound up procrastinating and getting all of the questions together until the day of, and then it was a mad dash. Any of you ever do that in school? Wait until the very last minute before you have to get your homework or project or whatever done? That was my go-to move, and it has not changed. So everything kind of got scaled back a day. And that's what he's talking about there. So thanks for the show, man. When do we start off the wall suggestions on who we should trade for at the deadline? Well, I think we're going to be kind of touching on that starting even right now, basically. However, if you want to really watch us dive into it, why don't you do so live? And I know this is unfair to say as there's viewers all over Canada, but if you are in Toronto, this is what's going on. Baseball Town, July 10th. So that's a Thursday. It's an off day for the Jays. The walk-off turns 5 years old July 7th. That was our first episode ever. Don't listen to it. It was horrible. But we did get our feet wet there 5 years ago, starting this podcast during the pandemic, both Adam and I being comedians and we're not allowed to work. So we kind of did this as a passion project to keep ourselves sane. And here we are 5 years later and kind of entrenched in the Blue Jays community. It's very cool. So we're going to be celebrating that at Comedy Bar. Our guests are freaking stacked, baby. The panel is going to be a blast, and we're going to have an extra long audience question period. So we will dive into all the trade talk. We will dive into the deadline. We'll really get into where that Blue Jays team is at that point. So that is 2 weeks from tomorrow. JD Bunkus from the JD Bunkus podcast and from Sportsnet is going to be on the panel. We've got Tom Henry. Very excited about this. Some of you might know Tom. He is a stand-up comedian. He is an actor. He has been in The Boys. He has been in Umbrella Academy. You'll recognize him, I bet. But huge Blue Jays fan. And we were actually on a comedy show together a couple weeks ago, and we wound up talking baseball and Baseball Town. And he was like, man, I would love to be on one of those shows. I know I'm not a Sportsnet analyst. And I was like, brother, get in here, right? So Tom Henry is going to be there. And then we've got Baseball Jen Smith, longtime walk-off participant and community builder. She is, of course, a long toss veteran. We haven't done long toss in a while. That's another thing we're kind of planning as the deadline gets closer is dust off the old long toss and do a live YouTube round table of sorts as well. So kind of keep an eye out for that. Again, Baseball Town, would love it if you came down. That is at the Comedy Bar, July 10th. Tickets for that, you can get that in the description. By the way, I know tickets are $25, but I've got a coupon code for you. Baseball. So if you can remember that, baseball, that gets you 20% off, and that will lower your ticket price to a measly $20. So hopefully we see some of you out there. Moving along here. Brian Crawford goes, how can a 17-year-old sign for a loan? You usually have to be at least 18 to get a loan. And then Ian Elliott chimed in as well. Not in the wide world of sports exploitation of Latin youth. This, of course, was talking about MLB Advance, right? The company that Fernando Tatis Jr. is suing right now. And they loaned him $2 million as a 17-year-old in exchange for 8% of his career total earnings. So we kind of dived into that in MLB Mondays and talked about kind of the exploitative ways of this company. Now, I also took the take that Fernando Tatis Jr. also a little bit to blame here. I mean, he did come from a major league father background, right? Like Fernando Tatis Sr., we're all well aware he's a bloodlines guy. Fernando is. And it was kind of weird that we don't know what happened, right? But it is kind of weird that he had to go out and borrow $2 million. And it felt like maybe his dad was like, no, you don't, I'm not just giving you money. And he's like, well, screw you, Dad. I'll go get a loan for myself. And the thing with this big league advance is that it does give an extra added opportunity to some of these guys. Like we're all aware the difference between somebody who doesn't make it and someone who makes it is just razor thin, right? Once you get into double A, triple A, like the difference in talent between a major leaguer and hitting that level is so minuscule. So every advantage you can give yourself, and of course, if you've got money as a minor leaguer, then you can eat the best. You can hire a nutritionist. You can hire a personal trainer. You can give yourself all those extra little added advantages that maybe some of the guys who aren't packing a bunch of money don't have. So, again, kind of interesting. Fernando Tatis was the guy at the forefront, and that's the whole reason why this big league advance exists, is that they're hoping that every once in a while they land a big fish like Fernando, and then they wind up with $34 million off of one guy, right? So, kind of a sketchy business model where you're loaning money to Latin American teenagers. Uh, Welcome to baseball. So, going to be really interesting to follow that lawsuit. My guess is that we just all forget about it and then it drags on for 2, 3 years, and all of a sudden there's a verdict in like 2027. We're like, oh shit, I forgot about this Fernando Tatis stuff. Yeah, wild. A new precedence has been set. Feel free to drop your comments on that big league advance, Fernando Tatis Jr. stuff. We'll circle back around once Adam's on. I know Adam has some opinions on it, so always want to hear from Mr. Mac when it comes to that sort of thing. Moving along, another Patreon here. This is from Trevor. And Trevor goes Ernie Clement. Holy crap. The guy is worth 2.4 F war. I know he's hot, but man, what a useful player. BAPIP is high, which is tough to sustain, but man, can play well anywhere, balls in play, speed, great on the base path. Poor man's Ben Zobrist these days. The offense is worth more than what you lose on D. Barker saying Ernie should play second. That would be fine. Honestly, Ernie Clement has been just a revelation this offseason or this season. You know what? He had his moments. He always had his moments. But to watch what he's doing right now with the Toronto Blue Jays is absolutely wild. I know that his positional versatility is kind of why the Blue Jays kept him around. He was once Kevin Biggio, they kind of moved on from him. But right now, I mean, Ernie's hitting 307 on the season. He's got 4 dingers, 75 hits. And like Trevor said, a 2.4 F war, 2.6 B war, and one of the most valuable players on this Toronto Blue Jays. He does lead the team in war, and no one saw this coming. A lot to be said for a guy who was kind of discarded by the Guardians and given a fresh opportunity by the Blue Jays. Great work by this organization to develop him into what he is right now. And I don't know where this team would be without Ernie Clement. Love where he's at in the batting order, too. The fact that there's this guy hitting 300 in the 7 hole. Give it to me every day, baby. Moving along here. This is our last Patreon comment. And this is from Sentimental Hygiene in our Discord. So if you are a Patreon member, you get automatic entrance into the Discord. He dropped a post about the Blue Jays trade yesterday. So the Blue Jays went out and picked up Robinson Pena, bullpen depth from the Miami Marlins. Okay, so he's pitched 57 innings in AAA to a 3.57 ERA between some starts, some bullpen work, and some long relief. He really is sort of what has lacked in this Blue Jays bullpen, which is length when you need it the most. And I know a lot of the fan base here, myself included, has been pretty frustrated watching the way some of the bullpen has been deployed over the last couple months. And I would even say it's not, listen, John Schneider has made some mistakes. I'm not defending him here, but it's not all on John because he only has who he can go to in his repertoire, in his bag of tricks, right? Like he can't bring someone out that doesn't exist there. So they don't have a long man. They don't have a guy to kind of mop up for innings. And the guys that they have had to do that, guys like Paxton Scholes or Eric Lauer, have wound up being starters or spot starters when they've needed them most. So interesting little move here. This is what went down. The Blue Jays and the Marlins finalizing a trade that'll send right-hander Robinson Pena from the Miami Marlins to the Toronto Blue Jays for minor league pitcher Colby Martin. Colby Martin actually is a decent prospect, not high on the rankings or anything, but he does throw 100 miles an hour, and he did just get called up from the Florida Coast League, the Dunedin Blue Jays, to the Vancouver Canadians, and then he was traded. So the Marlins had designated for assignment Pena. Over the weekend, Toronto has an opening on the 40-man roster, which they're going to wind up taking with Max Scherzer being reinstated today and pitching today. So they will need to open up a spot for Pena. He made his big league debut just a few days ago and wound up tossing 1 inning of relief in a 6-2 win over the Braves. He gave up a home run to Austin Riley while then retiring Alex Verduga, Matt Olson, and Marcell Ozuna. Miami designated him for assignment the next day and brought up lefty Josh Simpson. This is really just a depth move is the big thing here. This is from Shai Davidi. Shai goes, Blue Jays acquiring righty Robinson Pena from the Marlins for minor leaguer Colby Martin. Blue Jays see Robinson, who is expected to head to Buffalo, as additional pitching depth, another bulk relief option in the system. So, minor move, depth move. Are we going to see him in a Blue Jay uniform? Absolutely. Absolutely. They're going to wind up calling this kid up and giving him some opportunities out of the bullpen. Again, this team really does need a bulk reliever that can kind of eat some innings, whether the team is up big or down. You know, they've got Braden Fisher right now, and he's been really quite good. But again, having a guy who can go 3 to 4 innings, definitely something this team could use. Moving on to Twitter, Blue Sky, and Instagram, we've got a message from each one of those. Again, you can always reach out on Twitter at Walk Off Podcast, the Walk Off Podcast on both Blue Sky and Instagram. So this is from Jan. She reached out on Blue Sky. She goes, question, are there any stats on how Jeff Hoffman performs when pitching to Heineman versus Alejandro Kirk? It feels to me that he performs better when Heineman is catching, but I could be wrong. So this is an interesting question, and I did look into it a bit, and the truth is, pick your poison. Honestly, Jeff Hoffman's problems, tough to point to the catcher. One thing I will say that was interesting is that Heineman has actually caught him almost a game or two more. And I think that's because Kirky sometimes gets switched out in late innings for the pinch runner. So, you know, Heineman will come in and catch the last inning more often than not. And so Heineman does have more time behind the plate, which, again, for a guy who's playing 25% of the time, kind of a weird little statistical anomaly there. But no, the truth is, it doesn't look like the catcher has anything to do with this. I know we touched on this a little bit on MLB Mondays yesterday. The big thing with Hoffman has been velocity's down a little bit. It's down on his slider and it's down on his fastball. And when his fastball is throwing at a rate higher than 96 miles an hour, Jeff Hoffman has a whiff rate okay, of over 27%, which is very, very good. And as soon as it's below 96, it dips to almost 20%. So it's a pretty big discrepancy there. His slider is even worse. So when his slider is above 87 miles an hour, an incredible whiff rate of almost 30%, and then below 20% when it's below 85 miles an hour. So you really are 87 miles an hour, sorry. So what has happened to his velocity? I don't know. He did get used quite a bit in April. Maybe it was a little bit of an overusage thing. I know that they have really reeled that back. Dead arm is an interesting thing, and it does exist, and it's tough to really pinpoint when that comes back. Everything that the talking heads at Sportsnet and stuff are saying, you listen to Blair and Barker yesterday, and both of them feel like the Blue Jays have a handle on this. They kind of know what's wrong, they know what they're trying to do, and they feel confident that they can accomplish it. It's just putting the work in to do it. I don't know. Fingers crossed, everybody. Like, we really do need Jeff Hoffman to be the guy that we saw in April, or at least close to that, because this blowing saves every second time and having no one else to really go to is frustrating. Yariel Rodriguez has stepped up huge, and I do think that he is going to start to get more of those save opportunities as I think John Schneider shifts into kind of a closing by committee type of idea. You need wins. So maybe you go with matchups over the designated closer. Feel free to drop your comments below, Grounds Crew. Where are you at on Jeff Hoffman? Are you ready to completely give up on the guy? I mean, he's getting paid a lot of money to be here. And boy, oh boy, when he is at his best, he is dominant. So you don't really want to wash your hands of the guy or designate him further down the lineup. It's just, can you get him right, and how long is that going to take? Going to Twitter, Darren reached out. This made me laugh. Darren's in a little bit of a tizzy here. He goes, "Hey guys, I need you to talk me down a little. I'm kind of losing my mind over this Vladdy deal. Loved Vladimir Guerrero Jr., and I still do, but did we just pay the second highest salary in Major League Baseball for a guy who's pretty good? Like, is Vladdy even the best player on this current team? He's paid like the greatest to ever put on a Jays jersey, but yet this year anyway, he's playing at least like he's not even a top 10. Are we screwed long term? Convince me we're going to be okay." So number one, Darren, I would say that you are not alone in this sentiment and this concern. Vladimir Guerrero Jr., and he put it very well, actually, he has been very good. But has he been great? Has he been generational? Has he been $500 million good? And I would argue that no, he has not. And I would also argue that there is more in the tank. When are we going to see it? Baseball, man. It's a funny little sport. And I mean, you look at Vladdy's numbers, he's hitting around 280. He's only got 10 home runs. He's kind of on pace for a 25 home run, 90 RBI, 280 OPS of around 790 to 810. Not good enough. 100% I'm with Darren, and it does make me nervous as well. One thing I will say is that he's 26 years old. You look at the peripheral stats, and they always look amazing, right? Exit velo, launch angle is something people constantly bring up. If he can just raise it just a tiny bit, that 25 home runs could become 50, and man, is that tantalizing, right? That's the Vladdy that is being paid. That's the dream Vladdy we all have. That is who is making the money. Now, can we get the very good Vladdy, who is definitely not worth what he's getting paid, to that dream level Vladdy? Drop your comments. Do you think that's a possibility? I do. Am I concerned that he doesn't get there? Of course. Frick. You don't think Ed Rogers is concerned? I mean, of course. Rogers Communication dished out a lot of money for a fan favorite, a guy who has done it before, but a guy who has had inconsistent seasons and has definitely been disappointing at times. This was a very different deal than the Juan Soto deal, a deal based on a track record that kind of stood for itself. I don't really know what else to say about Vladimir Guerrero Jr. We talk about him all the time on the podcast. And this team is going to go as far as Vladdy's going to take him. This is an all-on Vladdy, and we're seeing the rest of the team really pick up the slack at times. Bo Bichette currently leading the team in home runs, which is hilarious because he didn't hit a dinger until the end of April. I mean, the way this team has performed has been intriguing to me because we haven't really seen the big boys be the big boys, but we've seen excellent stints from some guys we maybe didn't expect it from. Yariel Rodriguez has been maybe the best surprise of the year. He has been dominant and he has been so versatile in how they can use him. Where they bring him in out of the pen, he can shut things down. He can go multiple innings. He has been really good stranding runners. Addison Barger, the emergence of this kid and the power we're seeing out of him has been a godsend, especially with how disappointing Anthony Santander's debut was with the Jays and then injured. And not only has he been injured, I know John Schneider was saying over the last few days that he is far worse off than maybe they had originally anticipated. It is taking longer for him to get right. He is not swinging a bat yet. He is just starting to take baseball plays like in the field, right? He's starting to do some rehab stuff there. Still probably after the All-Star break, at least when we see Tony Taters. So this team being 2.5 back of the division with some of the odd things that have happened and their best players not necessarily being their best players, if there's any reason to be still optimistic, it is that for sure. And is there more from Vladimir Guerrero Jr. that we can accept? Most likely. We watched it happen last year, right? Midsummer hit, all of a sudden he started hitting dingers, wound up hitting 30 plus, and even though he was on pace come around the same time of the year, same sort of numbers. So does Vladdy have that hot streak in him? He does. Are we going to see it? Sure freaking hope so. Going to Instagram, you can always reach out there. The Walk Off Podcast. This is from Roberta, and she reached out and she says, "Hey, Scott and Adam, any word on Jimmy Garcia? He's getting close. Is he getting close to returning? When he's back, will he be closing with how bad Hoffman has been?" It's a good question. I think that when Jimmy first gets back, they're going to give him some time to get reacclimated in the bullpen. I don't think his first day back, he's going to be closing a high leverage situation. But in a week after his return, I think it's very likely, depending on the matchup. And that's kind of how I envision this bullpen right now until somebody takes the reins and runs with it. Is probably a closer by committee, going situation to situation, who matches up best with who's coming to the plate. And maybe that is the best way to shut down games at this point. You know, is Yariel your best choice with who's coming up? Is it Garcia? Is it going to be Sandlin? Is Hoffman going to be given another opportunity? There's a lot of question marks surrounding this bullpen right now. And with Jimmy Garcia coming back, it definitely is going to bolster the high leverage choices John Schneider has. So Jimmy Garcia is actually rehabbing right now. He's playing in Dunedin. I think he even had I think it's today he has a rehab assignment, or maybe it was yesterday. Either way, he is back in the system. He's throwing again. He's on the mound, and he is making his way back up. He should be in Buffalo soon, and then Toronto within the next week is my guess, and it will be a welcome return to the pen when Jimmy Garcia returns. Going to YouTube. So you can always drop your comments here. I know YouTube, I feel sometimes, basically sometimes YouTube commenters, you feel the most neglected, and my apologies. That is not the goal. I try to take an equal number from all of the different platforms. So just keep dropping your comments. I do really enjoy reading them. I haven't maybe been as responsive as normal over the last couple weeks. I've just been busy, but I do appreciate the messages, and this is the way to get your comments on Mailbag is drop them below, and we will do our best to get to them. We're starting with Boom Must Die. Just a fun little one here. He goes, "We know why Adam isn't there. 2 minutes in the sin bin for looking so good last podcast." Adam Mack, of course, with a fresh haircut, which really got a lot of comments, which really makes me laugh, because as soon as everyone starts ball busting Adam, I'm on board with it. Love it. But he does. He looks good. He looks fresh. with his new haircut. Again, Adam should be back hopefully for the Friday show here. He had a wedding over the weekend and is stayed out in BC with his family. So I said, don't worry about it. Enjoy your family time. I got this. But I will say, going solo, definitely tougher than sitting around and bullshitting with my buddy. All right. Moving on to Johnny O. And Johnny O goes, that long relief conversation is prophetic considering last night's game burned through leverage guys down 7. So we had friend of the show, Joel LaFlamme, Hey Kami on, and we kind of got into a discussion about position players pitching and the disappearance of the mop up guy, the long man, the guy who can come in and just eat innings when you need him to. A big piece of baseball up until more recently, where they've started because the bullpen because starters go so much shorter now, they don't want to fill up a spot in the pen for that sort of thing. And so now you just throw out Kike Hernandez to pitch whenever there's a problem, whenever you're up by a bunch or down by a bunch. I hate it. I don't like position players pitching. I think it's kind of cheating the system. You should have to eat it. That was kind of Joel and my point, was just, you know what? If you're down so bad, you got to go to a position player. You should need to go to a pitcher and just frickin' eat it. But that's not really where the game is at. And that's what Johnny O was talking there, referencing the Blue Jays throwing out Yariel Rodriguez when down by 7. And again, sometimes you just got to eat an inning. And if the fresh arm you have in the pen is a high leverage guy, you might wind up using it. Which, again, this is why in a series against a team, when they're up by a bunch, a lot of teams don't take the foot off the gas anymore, right? Because you're trying to gas the pen and get high leverage dudes into games that they shouldn't even be playing in, right? So little strategy there. Moving along to Scott Carter. And he goes, with the Ohtani rule, where a two-way player doesn't count against your pitch limit. Again, this is talking about the position player conversation that I was just talking about here. So with Ohtani rule, where a two-way player doesn't count against you pitcher limit wise, why are we not seeing more teams with utility infielders, fourth outfielders, low leverage relief pitchers? And that's actually a really good question. And my guess is that this is something we do start to see. I know that Daltramerist then came in and commented below that and was like, hey, I even thought that might be something the Blue Jays try with IKF, right? Get him just enough pitching appearances that he has that two-way player status, and then you can throw him in there and it's not taking up a bullpen spot. So an interesting way to circumvent the rules. I mean, the Dodgers are just basically using Kike Hernandez as that right now. Yeah, it's interesting. We'll see what happens with this new CBA. There is going to be some really interesting rule changes. There's going to be some different stuff that's approached. I mean, and this is all peripheral stuff, by the way, you know, like the position players pitching and stuff like that. But it's definitely something that will be interesting to watch what goes down. We all are well aware of the CBA coming up and the fact that there could be a work stoppage, and we know the big points, but there's going to be some minor stuff that happens that'll be like, oh shit, right, of course. This is something that the player union is worried about. Going to Mark Ryan here. Again, this is sticking with the YouTube comments here, and this is also from the Friday show with guest host Joel LaFlamme. Hey, Kami. So we were talking about Jacob deGrom and the possibility of him being a target if you're after that ace kind of starter to bolster your lineup. And he goes, I don't think the Rangers will be wanting to part with Jacob deGrom given the state of the Rangers rotation, and they are in pretty deep here. Now, the Rangers are bad, so we'll see what happens. And he is owed a lot of money, so maybe they would like that off the books. He goes, I don't think the Jays will want him either. 37 years old, an injury history a mile long. and $115 million owing on his contract starting next year. And that's over 3 years. I've been looking at Severino. His numbers aren't that shabby. ERA, FIP, and X numbers are pretty good considering he's pitching in a minor league ballpark. 2 more years of control after this season, 22 million AAV. It'll probably start with Aralvis and add a couple more to get the deal done. So that is an interesting choice as well. Luis Severino, of course, he was the big free agent signing for the A's. They signed him 3 years. I think it was 65 million, something like that. It was the highest contract in A's history, which is a wild one. And in true A's fashion, maybe they would move Severino with 2 years left if they could get some sort of prospect like a Rolvis. There's enough money owed to Severino that I don't think you'd need to break into kind of those top three prospects at all. And if you did, I wouldn't be into it. But yeah, an interesting idea there for Mark Ryan. So thanks so much, Mark. Appreciate it. We are down to our final question of mailbag. So I do appreciate all of the interaction over the last week. I know we did get a lot of messages. My apologies if I didn't get to yours. Try again. That's the goal. All right. And again, big baseball town coming up July 10th. Get in on it. All right. Baseball is your coupon code to save $5. It makes tickets just $20. You can get that. Comedybar.ca is where you grab your tickets. The link should be in the description as well. So again, if you're a Torontonian and you're looking to celebrate the Walk-Off's 5-year anniversary with us, or you're going to be in town, would love to have you there. We've got an absolutely stellar panel with JD Bunkus from the JD Bunkus podcast and Sportsnet. We've got Jen Smith, baseball Jen. You know her here from the Walk-Off and from Long Toss. And then we've got actor and comedian Tom Henry. Very excited to have him on board. So again, get your tickets. This is from Muscle Rarton. I just always envision Shaggy and Scooby-Doo whenever I read this. And it's just like Scooby-Doo's like, Muscle Rarton, right? Sorry, I don't know why I did that. So he goes, personally, hate trading a good bat for a pitcher. Just reminds me of the Teoscar Hernandez trade for a bullpen piece. Think Chris Sale is too old compared to Bo Bichette. The value just doesn't line up, in my opinion, but I do see how many would find this as a valuable trade. So we were talking about, would you move Bo Bichette for Chris Sale? Bo on an expiring contract, Chris Sale, high-end starting pitcher with an option next year. Does that make sense for both teams? It might, if Atlanta can, get an extension done with Bo Bichette. However, Chris Sale is now injured and not sure for how long. So doesn't seem like a fit anymore. Also, I'm kind of with Muscle Rarton here, where trading away any offense on this team right now, dangerous endeavor to do. If anything, this team probably needs more offense. We'll see where they're at when Dalton Varsho and Anthony Santander come back. But definitely trading away runs for run prevention. I mean, that's makes all of us Jays fans grab at our collar, right? And go, oh boy. So that is Mailbag. Thank you so much, everybody, for your interaction. Honestly, so appreciate you folks, the grounds crew. Could not do the show without you. Feel free to drop your comments below, and we will try and tackle them on Friday or next Mailbag. Adam, Max should be back for Friday again. All the best, everybody. Thank you so much for following along. Take care of yourselves. Go Blue Jays, go. Hope they take this series one win away from the series win in Cleveland.